the KMNN studios, this is the Kids Morning News Network. Good morning. It's May 6th, 2024, the 127th day of the year. I'm Alex in the KMNN studio in New York. Welcome to Children's Book Week. It begins today. Children's Book Week started in 1919 to get kids interested in books. The theme for this year's celebration is No Rules, Just Read, which is great because there aren't rules for books. Anything can happen. That's why if you look around, you'll find the right book that speaks to you. One of my favorite kids' books is called Hatchet by Gary Paulson. Although, I think my very first favorite book was What Do People Do All Day by Richard Scarry. I still love both of them. And there are so many others to choose from. The Fourth Stall, hilarious. Or how about Willadine? That's really good. What about you? I'd love to hear what you're reading. Get your grown-up to help and email me your favorite kids book at kidsmorningnews@gmail.com. In the news this morning, a 17-year-old from Boynton Beach, Florida, has been officially dubbed a hero. He won something called the Carnegie Award for Heroism this year. That's an award given to regular people in the U.S. and Canada who risk their lives to try to save someone else. It's been awarded since 1904. Jacob Thompson is the Florida teenager who won a medal this year. Last November, he was standing near an inlet when he saw a woman being swept out to sea. Jacob dove right in, swam out to the woman, and brought her safely to shore. Once you learn a little bit more about Jacob, you're not surprised. He wants to become a firefighter, and he's already been awarded a scholarship for his training. So it sounds like this was probably just his first save of many to come. Congratulations and thank you, Jacob.
10, 9, 8.
Starliner is scheduled to blast off tonight. The Starliner is a whole new spacecraft, and today's flight will be the first time it has been launched with a crew on board. Starliner first took off in 2019 with nobody aboard, and again in 2022. That time it had a crash test dummy. Engineers have been tinkering with it and getting it just right since then. Tonight's launch will have 2 crew members on board, though Starliner's capsule can carry 7. It looks a lot like the capsules that flew before the space shuttles back in the 1960s and 70s. But while the insides of those capsules were the size of like a very small car, the inside of the Starliner is more like the size of an SUV. Starliner is made to fly itself, much like an autonomous car. But on this mission, the crew is going to take the controls for a while just to make sure that everything works. Then they'll dock with the International Space Station for a week or so. Starliner and the crew should be back home in the middle of next week. It's going to be busy at Cape Canaveral in Florida the next couple of days. In addition to the Starliner launch today, another rocket, a SpaceX Starlink mission, is also scheduled to blast off. Do you think they have traffic lights on the launch pads? It's riddle time. Friday's riddle was, what time is it when an elephant sits on your fence? It's time to fix the fence. Today's riddle, I have 1 head, 1 foot, and 4 legs. What am I? I'll say that again. 1 head, 1 foot, 4 legs. What am I? Answer on Wednesday. Today in 1994, 30 years ago today, the Channel Tunnel, or Chunnel, linking England and France underwater, opened. Now, people had been thinking about connecting the two countries for centuries. They're only 20 miles apart across the English Channel. On a clear day, you can actually see from one country to the other. Back in 1881, 2 teams, one British and one French, began tunneling under the channel from either side. Each team made it more than a mile, so it looked like it was possible. But they abandoned the project after a couple of years. Some people in Great Britain thought that a tunnel would make them too easy to invade. Another plan 40 years later included a way to flood the tunnel at either end. That way no one could invade from either direction, but nothing came of it. They tried again in the 1970s, and they started digging once again before, once again, the project was abandoned. This time, there were some people who thought that England would be too full of tourists if it was easy to get to. Man, would this Chunnel ever get chunneled? Well, finally in the 1980s, an agreement was signed yet again, and digging started yet again. But this time they finished. The finished Chunnel is 31 miles long. It's actually 2 tunnels, one for either direction, and there's also one in the middle. So, okay, it's actually 3. But it only carries trains. For cars to cross, they drive onto a special double-decker train car that's almost half a mile long. And it's kind of one big long car, and then when they get ready to move, they close doors in between sections of it. You actually can ride across in your car, or near it anyway. You're allowed to get out and stretch your legs, but you couldn't do it without the train because the train goes about 99 miles an hour, faster than your car. There are other train cars specially designed to carry trucks. The whole trip takes about 20 minutes, much less time than it took to get the Chunnel built.
Ha!
Weather today, lots of rain, even some snow in the forecast. If you're not in the Southwest, the Great Lakes, or the far, far Northeast, you're probably looking at cloudy skies all day. Temperatures most places will be on the cool side. Not you, Gulf Coast. You'll be in the high 80s. In honor of Children's Book Week, here's a poem by Emily Dickinson called There Is No Frigate Like a Book. It's also known as 1263 because Emily Dickinson didn't give most of her poems titles. There is no frigate like a book to take us lands away, nor any coursers like a page of prancing poetry. This traverse may the poorest take without oppressive toll. How frugal is the chariot that bears a human soul. I like that. The book is a chariot. What does that make a podcast? Scooter? Anyway, that's the show. Thank you very much for listening. If you like this episode, please subscribe, share, and spread the word about the Kids Morning News Network. And grown-ups, if you'd like to become a supporter, I'd appreciate it if you did. There's a link in the episode description. I'll be back on Wednesday, and I hope you are too. From the KMNN Newsroom, this is Alex, signing off.